There is so much I could add to the list of what I wish I had known before infertility, from how much it would consume my life, my relationship, how much it would affect my health, to all the things I wish I'd known sooner about going through fertility treatments. But in today's episode, I will take you through the things that I really wish I'd known. The stuff that, when I figured it out, is what really made a difference, and ultimately, what really helped me to finally fall pregnant. Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends both science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Here each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so you can stop stressing that you'll never have a baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me today, just for sharing your time, pressing play, and I just want you to know that I appreciate it more than you realize. So big welcome. Before we get into the episode today, I just want to let you know I have a super fun new kind of little addition to the podcast where if you would like to submit a question or just share your feedback or, ask for guidance on your own journey, I now have a beautiful recording system where you can leave me a little voice note and it will go straight to my inbox and I'll be able to listen to that and then address your question and answer it or help you on an upcoming episode of the podcast. So if you go down into the show notes, you'll find a link to that. And if you have just anything you want to know about, the differences between, the sciencey and the spiritual parts of this journey and how they all blend together and how they all work for you, I would love to hear your questions. So been trying to get this up and running for a while, and I finally found a website that makes it really nice and simple. So I look forward to hearing your feedback. I mean, I always love receiving your DMs and your emails and everything, but there is something so personal about a voice note. So please feel free to get involved with that when you can. This episode today is a juicy one and such an important one. It is something that deeply focuses on the relationship that we have with our bodies and how important this is. And I have been wanting to put this episode together for a while, and I have so many notes that I was, trying to put into a kind of a cohesive way of presenting everything I wanted to say. So it's going to be one of those episodes where I just truly speak from the heart and give you all of the information that I found really helped me and what helps my students on this journey. So I hope that it's one you're going to find helpful. And I know that, when we talk about all these things that we wish we'd known before we went through infertility, I mean, we see these lists on social media and on websites all the time, things like, I wish I'd known that IVF wasn't a guarantee of a baby, and I wish I'd known how much it would impact my friendships and my family and my relationship with my partner and all of these things. And they're all so, so important and not to be discounted, and we do need to talk about them. But the things I want to talk about today are really the things that go a bit deeper than that. And these are the things that when I address them and I see when my students start to address them, this is where things really start to change and shift. And it's the stuff that we don't really want to do, looking at these hard emotions in our life and our lifestyle and what we're doing to support ourselves and everything that we're going to go through. It's all simple, but it isn't easy. I think that's so much about this work, isn't it? We know what we do, we know what we should be doing, but it isn't easy. So I hope this is going to give you some guidance as to where to start and to where to go if you're feeling stuck on your own journey. To start today, I want to talk about how much I wish I had known that cultivating a relationship with my body was the only way to start healing from what I had been through. And by this, what I mean is that we often get so angry or so frustrated at our bodies when we're trying to conceive. especially if you've been through treatments and rounds of treatments, and especially if you've been through loss. You feel like this is the one thing that your body is designed to do, the one thing that so many people, that most people manage to do so easily, but for some reason, your body just won't, and we get into these thought patterns of, why me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? It's a really, really hard place to be. We do everything perfectly. We do all the perfect nutrition, the diet, the supplements, the medications, the no drinking, no coffee, no all the things, as we know. We get to this place where we're so frustrated and so angry at our situation and our bodies that we withhold love from our bodies. And this might not be intentional, but this frustration causes us to come into this relationship with our body that says, I will love you again once you do this. Once you ovulate regularly, once you have a regular cycle, once you actually get pregnant. And it's not just trying to conceive. I think if you go back to, being a teenager, or you just look at the media in general as a woman, we are pretty much taught not to trust or love our bodies from a very young age. It's, we're always on what kind of weight loss plan, works best for this person or for that person. And, your skin's the wrong color, your hair's the wrong style, you don't fit into these particular pants in the way that, we should. The list goes on, as we well know. And, it's everything from losing weight to recovering from, maybe a frustrating injury that's limiting you, or a diagnosis from any kind of health issues. We are just taught from such a young age to hate our bodies. And there's always a solution that's always coming from outside of us. But what our bodies need, especially at this time when we're trying to conceive, is unconditional love. And this is before it does a certain thing. This is hard to rewire after a lifetime of reprogramming. I love using this analogy, but when you look at children who are playing, and, you watch them, they're running around, they're doing whatever they want to do. They are not thinking for a second what their body looks like. All they're worried about is, can I climb this wall? Can I jump off this? Can I swing any higher? They have this beautiful freedom and intuitive relationship with their bodies. And I just wonder, where is it along the way that we lose that? And how can we get back to it? So some of the things that I found were helpful and that I love to go through with my students is to come into a relationship with your body, you really have to cut out the noise. We need to be able to sit in that silence, and you need to ask your body how she feels. For example, if you've booked in a workout today, are you going to the gym today because it's booked in and, you want to fit into your jeans, or you feel guilty for not exercising, or, whatever other reasons it might be? Or are you going to the gym because it feels amazing and you love watching your body get stronger? Or are you just really not feeling like it's the right thing for your body today? Do you need to do something else? Maybe a walk, a yoga practice, or just rest? I find being able to really tune in to how your body feels isn't something that we are taught to do. It's not something that we ever really think to do. And if you think about it, how often do you just take a moment, take 5 minutes to sit down, lay down, place your hands over your belly or your chest, and just ask your body how she feels? I know for myself, it was many years into my fertility journey before I did this, before a yoga teacher suggested that I do it. It sounded so weird. So why would I do that? But the answers that can come from when you actually tune all of that noise out and tune in with your body can be amazing. Another thing that I love to do is to celebrate the small wins. And, it seems like when you are struggling to conceive that it is just one big disappointment after the next. I completely understand that. But along the way, are there any little things that are going your way that maybe you should celebrate? For example, maybe your cycle has gotten really haywire and, after concerted effort over a few cycles to really get back to your body and what you need, do you notice that your cycle starts to regulate a bit more? Maybe your PMS reduces. Maybe you're sleeping better. You feel less, irritable around people or your partner, whoever it is that's pissing you off that day. Celebrate these small wins. Maybe have a page in your journal or even just a little entry in your notes app on your phone, and take time to really celebrate little things that you notice that change for the better and read through them. In days that you're feeling really down, read through these things that your body is capable of and keep coming back to, again, asking and being in that relationship with how your body feels. And that really leads well into my next point that I wanted to talk about. And that is, I wish I had known what an impact my experiences of infertility would have on my overall health. This constant state of fight or flight that we find ourselves in for so many months or years at a time are just so overwhelming for our bodies. And I couldn't cope with anything anymore. I became so type A and I so badly needed to control absolutely everything in my life that if something didn't go my way, if something just, tiny little bit of a sway off course throughout my day, my very crazy perfectionist protector part of my brain would just completely lose it. The tiniest things would tip me over the edge, like being stuck in traffic, my phone battery dying, not having the salad that I wanted at the cafe I wanted to order it from, just like really insignificant stuff where you take a little moment, you go, my reaction here just really doesn't fit the situation. Although you have to be very self-aware to ask that question. And for most of the time, I was not that self-aware. But it is just like one thing after the next, and you cannot really cope with getting through the day. As I have talked about before on the podcast, I developed like really chronic insomnia on my fertility journey. I ended up being prescribed like 3 different types of sleeping tablets. Some were not even really safe during pregnancy, but doctors really had no other answers. And I was just so distraught from not being able to sleep that I was willing to do anything. I developed a chronic thyroid condition, something that had never been an issue before. And suddenly I was taking daily medication to try and keep my thyroid hormones in check. I was bloated. I had awful acne. I was just irritable. I was a mess. None of this is normal for an otherwise healthy person in their mid to late 30s. But the problem is when you go to your doctor, our medical system is completely siloed. So if you've experienced anything like I've just described, or you've noticed your own health issues on this journey and you go to your doctor, you'll find that, maybe they'll treat the sleep, they'll prescribe the sleeping tablets, but then, well, for your thyroid, you've got to go and see an endocrinologist, and for your skin, you've got to go and see a dermatologist. And God, side note, dermatologists that I saw when I was trying to conceive, the only answer they had to fixing my skin was to put me on the pill. So women's health, the joys. Anyway, I just found that, all of this was coming from a root cause that no one really seemed to be able to address from a medical standpoint. You never really get a holistic approach in the medical world. And, again, it's no fault of the doctors. It is just the way that our medical system is set up. They're never going to be getting to that root cause. But, no surprises here. When I took away the stress of trying to conceive, or now when I look at my life and I'm in my 40s, I no longer have insomnia. I sleep so well. I'm not on any thyroid medications. And my cycle is more regular now than it ever was in my 30s. So what is the answer here? And, when you can't get a doctor to give you the magic pill to make all of this go away, we need to look at what this journey is doing to our overall health. And it comes down to this very annoying thing that we are all told about on a daily basis called stress. And you cannot remove the stress of infertility, but you also can't sail through your life being at the mercy of what you're going through. And, it isn't going to go away. And you add to this the trauma of things like pregnancy loss or recurrent loss or unsuccessful treatments and, the financial burden of everything that you go through. And you're going to be a mess unless you find ways to actively support yourself. And this leads me to my next point on this list. And that is, I wish I knew the absolute importance of regulating my nervous system, because your nervous system shapes your entire experience. If you're constantly living in the trauma of the past, or you are stuck in the anxiety of the unknowns of the future and what's going to bring and is this going to work, and the panic and the overwhelm, you will never be in the place of here and now. And we need to be regulated for so many reasons. We need to be in regulation for our bodies to function properly, to sleep, to make decisions, to be able to tune into our bodies, to be able to listen to our intuition. I've spoken about before on the podcast that when you are in this chronic and ongoing state of fight or flight, when stress has really hijacked your body, your body shuts down the part of your brain that is required for critical thinking. That prefrontal cortex goes offline. So when you are chronically dysregulated, you can't be making these big decisions that we need to make, whether we're going to start treatments, whether, is this doctor right for you? Do I need to get a second or third opinion? Is this really the right path? We need to be in a place where we know that the decisions that we're making are the right ones, because otherwise we're going to be forever second guessing ourselves. When we make decisions out of fear or anxiety, you are just going to be, again, bringing your body into a prolonged and ongoing state of dysregulation. And this is something that just makes your life miserable for so many of the things that I already mentioned already. So how do we come to a state of regulation? And like I said at the beginning, this is something that is simple, so simple, but it isn't easy. And you need to find consistent and intentional practices that help you come to regulation on a regular basis, like every day, like multiple times per day. I want you to think of it as like going to the gym, like doing, reps of an exercise at a gym. You wouldn't go to the gym today for 10 minutes and do, squats, and then wake up tomorrow and expect your legs and your hips to be 10 times stronger and stay that way. No, you'd come up with a plan, an exercise plan. You would commit to going a certain number of times per week, and you'd really want to work towards your goals, and you would know that it would take time. So think about coming into a state of regulation as going to the gym and wanting to see results from, a long period of regular, consistent practice. So things that you can do on a daily basis to regulate your nervous system: get outside, be in nature, stare at the sky, look at trees, put your feet on the grass or some sand or just on the ground at all. And, there are shapes and colors and patterns in nature that are not replicated in any man-made structures. We were, surprisingly, not surprisingly, not meant to be sitting in front of a computer for 10 hours a day. We were meant to be outside for the majority of our lives. And we find that really calming on an unconscious level. So the more that you can just be outside in nature, or even better, go for a walk outside. Again, these really gentle, soothing movements like walking, like swaying, like gentle dancing are incredibly calming and soothing for your nervous system. Do things that light you up every day. So this could be anything. Maybe it is your yoga practice, but it also might be travel or planning places that you want to visit, or going to the latest restaurant that's just opened in your city, or gardening or painting or cooking, just anything that gets you excited and just lights you up. Leave time for these little things every day. And they can be little tiny things as well, like you just love to sit on your favorite chair with your coffee for 5 minutes in the morning, or you love to get home from work and put your feet up and watch your favorite reality TV show. Like, do it. Do all of the things that just make you look forward to them. Put your phone away an hour before bed. And this is one I am so guilty of. And it's one of those things that when I do this, 3 or 4 nights of, okay, an hour before bed, alarm is on, phone goes onto airplane mode, and then it goes off. And I spend that last hour reading a book, having a cup of tea, chatting with my husband or just having a hot shower and getting into bed early, like doing that for even just a few nights in a row, oh my goodness, the difference. I sleep better. I feel more rested. I have more energy the next morning. It makes a huge, huge difference. So that is something I highly encourage you to get into the habit of. Sunlight when you wake up in the morning is also really important. And I know this isn't so easy depending on where you live in the world and what time of the year it is, but if you can get natural light onto your eyeballs before artificial light, especially your phone, that is ideal. Again, we were not meant to be woken up by these very harsh blue lights that we often reach for as soon as we wake up. So try and get some sunlight on your face if you can. And I'm going to mention meditation because I know I always bang on about meditation, but I am a meditation teacher, so it comes with the territory. But gosh, it's magic. And again, it's one of those things that is so hard sometimes. But when you can carve out these moments of your day just to sit in silence, watch your breath, just take those moments, it really, really is a wonderful tool that you have access to at any moment, and it is free. All of these things are free, really, and they are things we all have access to, except for the sunlight, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere and it's winter. The last thing I want to add to the list of coming into regulation is to be in communication with others. This is so important. Humans are communal beings, which means that we are hardwired to seek connection, and our nervous systems need this. We actually needed it for survival many, many hundreds, thousands of years ago. If we were not in connection with other humans, we wouldn't have survived. But this obviously needs to be with the right people, not, that friend that always manages to say the wrong thing about your fertility journey and triggers you, or, we all have that person in our lives, but, your partner or your parents or your siblings or your best friend, and just carve out time to connect with them. It doesn't have to be in person, but even, in person is probably the best way to do it because you are able to attune with people really well. It's a wonderful thing called co-regulation. But even if it's just over the phone, hearing someone's voice, make sure you include time to connect with others. And I know that is so hard when you are struggling and you don't want to leave the house. You don't want to go to the events. You don't want to connect with others, but try to make time for it as much as you can. The next thing that I want to talk about is this idea of self-care when you're trying to conceive. I wish I knew that self-care was not meant to be a means to an end. And I used to look at self-care when I was struggling through infertility as a way to get what I wanted. So, I'll give my body a chance to rest, or I'll do the things that are relaxing, and then it will do the things that I want it to. Or, if I do this, then my body will achieve a pregnancy. So I used to go to these amazing Kundalini yoga classes and these breathwork sessions, and I'd listen to these fertility hypnosis tracks, and, all of it made me feel really good. But I went to all of these things with this intention that I was going to carve out this time. I was going to do something good for my body with the expectation that my body would then do something for me. And there's nothing wrong with, going for the massages and doing the bubble baths, and all of this is great. But true self-care, I believe, is the deeper work that we need to do when we are struggling with something in our lives. So addressing your triggers, really doing the work to have a look at your life and know, what is this journey trying to show me or to tell me? And is there something that I can be learning about myself in the process? We don't have to like it. We don't need to want to be going through it. We not want to wish it on, our worst enemy, but we need to be able to support ourselves on a much deeper level. So using self-care as a way to, yes, help your nervous system regulate and to provide space and time for yourself, but we need to do it and come to it with this intention that we're doing it because it is good for us, not because your body is going to give you something back in return. I feel like the answer to helping you get through this way of letting self-care practices really nourish you is to lean into the feeling of receiving. I find that women are particularly bad at this, right? We don't often do anything where, we don't usually receive anything where we're not kind of doing something in return. And it's sort of the way that, we're brought up. Women are taught to be so nurturing and so caring of others. And it is just the way a lot of us are wired. But, how can you receive things without having to do anything in return? Little simple things like, can you receive the sunlight on your face and just feel the warmth and the light and the soothing feeling of being out in nature? Can you let your partner do things for you? Can you just let them make you dinner? Let them bring you a cup of tea? Just know that they don't need anything else in return. Just know what it feels like to receive. How often do we actually do that? Other things you can do are be super lazy with zero guilt. Just like I said, come home from work, put your feet up, put your favorite reality show on. Find ways to just unapologetically do things for yourself. And get out of this sort of mindset of I'll do this or I'll rest and then my body will do what I want it to do, or my hormones will be better, or my lining will be thicker next month, or my whole system will be more balanced and I'll actually get pregnant. And yes, those things may happen as a result, but the energy of coming to it from a place of compassion and love for your body rather than a bargaining tool is so, so different. The last thing that I want to say about this episode and about what I really, really wish that I had known is that how we relate to our bodies, how we relate to our relationships, our work, I wish I had known that choosing to see this from another perspective would be so powerful. And what I mean by this is to ask ourselves, how can I choose to see this experience differently from a different perspective? While I was in the depths of my own journey, the real changes that I started to notice came when I stopped avoiding or pushing away what I was going through, and I started living my life through it instead. And, what I mean by this is this idea of acceptance and surrender. I got to a place where I accepted that maybe, just maybe, what I was going through was going to be for the better. And this is so hard to do when you are in the middle of things. It is almost impossible to look at your life and say, how could this be happening for me? As opposed to just something that's happening to me. It is such a difficult thing to get your head around. But I truly believe that your greatest purpose in life, within that lies your greatest healing. And if it is part of your purpose to be a parent and you know that that is your soul's calling in this lifetime, then can that be, or can you let that be a catalyst for the greatest healing work that you will ever do? Because when we want something so badly, when we want something that we would literally do anything to have it, that is where we start to look inwards, to ask, what do I have to do to get there? And what am I not giving myself in order to get the life that I really, really desire? And know that if you are listening to this, as hard as it is, you have an inkling that this may be the case for you too. So no matter where you are on your journey or what you've been through, what you've had to navigate, or what you have had to travel through to get to this point, I want to remind you that this is just one part of your journey, one part of the chapter of your whole life. And the rest of it, the magic of everything that you are going to uncover is waiting for you. It is so hard and it is so difficult. But I just want you to know that, if you're asking yourself, is this ever going to be worth it? I just want you to know that it will be. So keep coming back to that knowing that you deserve everything that you want in this life and on this journey. Know that you are capable, that your body is capable. Keep connecting with that guidance, whether you call it your higher self or the universe or God or whatever kind of resonates for you, however you were led down this path in the first place. When you decided you were meant to be a parent, that guidance is there for you. It's there to show you the way no matter what happens in your life. You are not the things that happen to you, but you are the product of how you interpret those experiences. So interpret what you're going through as a means to get the life that you really want, you really desire. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I feel quite emotional sharing all of this, as I often do. I'm such a crier, and I'm surprised I don't cry more often when I'm recording these episodes. But this is a lot. This journey is a lot. And I just want you to know, if you need to reach out to someone, I always love to hear from you all. So, use me as your co-regulation tool that day if you ever need to. I hope to have you back next week on the podcast. And if you would like to share this episode with someone, it might mean the world to them. You never know what people are going through. And remember, if you want to leave a question or just leave me a little voice note to share your experiences of the podcast, or, how you're feeling on your own journey, I would love to hear from you. So the link is down in the show notes. So I hope to have you back with me again next week. But until then, I am sending you all my love as you continue your own journey to fertility. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace, to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in mind-body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't. The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.